Hello, friends, and welcome to a special conversation with the playwright of The Catastrophist, Lauren M. Gunderson. Lauren, hello, welcome. Thank you so much for speaking with us
Oh my
today.
gosh, what a great pleasure to be here. Hi, everybody.
Hi. So today, this afternoon, what what time is it on your coast?
It's about it's about 1 p.m. California time. I'm coming to you from San Francisco.
Well, fantastic. The joys of modern technology kind of making the world smaller in all the good ways. So the first thing that I wanted to talk to you about is Atlanta is your hometown, specifically Decatur. So tell us, what does it feel like when one of your plays is done at home?
Oh, it's a homecoming. I certainly wish I could be there on the ground in person for it to be a literal homecoming, but even in spirit, there's so much of Atlanta in my work and all that has made me the Atlanta theater scene for the last 20 years. And the kind of core first champions of my work, first person to ever call me a playwright was Daniel May, standing outside of the old Dad's Garage Theater some decades ago, on and on. So I have a very particular, not just affinity, but just a deep love. And actually, especially for a theatrical outfit, which has been one of my favorite venues to see theater, the life of art that I've been able to witness, being not just a practitioner of the artist or a dramatist, but as an audience member, as a fan of Atlanta theater. So and big virtual hug from me to my home.
So do you think that there is like an Atlanta energy or something that lives in the way that you approach your work? Is that something that we could define?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, there's kind of like, it's that Southern thing. It's that like grace and grit and a little bit of crudeness, but like some soulfulness too. And, we have a lot of our Flannery O'Connor, literary dark meets humor, meets truth, but then it's just like funny and quirky. But I think I have taken from my time in Atlanta and my the way that I think about Atlanta now. It's kind of like, you just got to do the work. You got to show up and do it and invent things and make things and just put it out in the world. And that was the only way that I knew how to get from little baby Lauren in middle school feeling like maybe one day I'd write a play that people would do. And that was me in my living room floor in Decatur, just printing out the damn play and putting it in an envelope and mailing it and saying, and so anyway, all of that is, I mean, it's kind of that Atlanta thing of like, make something new. If so, nobody's made before, it doesn't matter. Do it. If you believe in it, make it. And that's the only way to kind of spread the good word in the world, is to make something and give it wings. So
Yeah, with one like as a recent like transplant into Atlanta, one of the most fun things I've enjoyed is how people always have something else that they do too. Like the dentist that I go to has sculptures on the belt line. He's a sculptor,
love
like
it.
as
Love
you
it.
do, or someone who works at the CDC is also a hip hop producer, and that kind of like you know creative and intellectual energy is something that I see in your work as well.
Oh yeah.
Um,
And just unstoppable storytelling, like everybody's got 10 stories in their back pocket to just, here you go. So I certainly learned that from the best.
Obviously, so science and ideas just play such a huge part of your work.
Yeah.
So, what comes first? Is there something you want to discuss? You find a story, or does the story lead you to the material?
Yeah. I mean, I think the genesis of writing so much about science was I started writing when I was really young. And what's great about that is that you're kind of wide-eyed, full of energy. But what's hard about it is you don't have enough life experience to actually write much. So I kind of wrote one play about like teenage girls and moms and stuff. And then I was like, and I'm done. Okay, not much more to tell for my personal life experience now. So I turned to history and discovered the kind of depths of storytelling that you can
Mm,
have, and how when we write a play about history or a scientific concept that was developed a long time ago, we are talking about now. We are talking about the waves of history that are still cresting on us in this moment. So in that, I found, sometimes I'm writing about the present moment, and oftentimes I'm still writing about the present moment, but the plays are about the past. The plays are about big ideas. The plays, like The Catastrophist, are about real people. But of course, what is theater for? It's actually not a place for a lecture. It's a place for
mhm,
soul. It's a place for heart. And so finding the humanity in the people who hold these ideas has become kind of my lifelong goal. And frankly, it is that because it's just bottomless. There's just endless
mm.
stories there and so much resonance that we can kind of come to again and again in that space.
Yeah, absolutely. But so for the catastrophist, you're looking for inspiration a little bit closer to home. So
Just just a little.
how did you end up writing a play about your husband? What does he think about
Oh
this?
gosh. It took a minute of convincing both me and him that this was a good idea. But the truth is, I married him for a lot of the same reasons that he makes a great character. He is fascinating. He's brilliant. He's brave, and he's human. I've seen the parts of him that, to me, elaborate on what I feel, or what I know other people feel about legacy and loss and becoming a parent, and knowing where and who you come from. And there's a lot of kind of clashing and crashing of human realities that I thought his story could bring about, that would mean a lot to a lot of people besides just me and him. But the truth is, this whole play was written in and produced and is now streaming inside this pandemic. It has all happened
Wow.
within the last year. So, in some ways, the play seems kind of obvious. We were all asked to stay at home, to stay close, to limit our activity and limit our community out of safety. And thank God we did. But also that means it's no surprise that I turned to my
Mhm.
my pandemic pod partner and said, okay, well, now I'm writing a play about you because you're right there. So the intimacy, the kind of micro lens that I was able to turn on him. But also, I mean, the truth be told, it's also turned on me. The play is, in some
Mhm.
ways, just as much about me and our marriage, or a marriage, as it is him. So that, I think, so many of us were asked to look inwards during this time and to see and question and unpack who we are if we can't go outside of our own walls. And the truth is, there's operas upon operas upon operas worth of drama inside ourselves, much less inside the people we love and the relationships we depend on.
Well, I mean, I was telling you before we started recording how much the play had impacted me personally, and I like and just as I'm listening to you, I think it's not just because it's a play about someone roughly my age dealing with parenthood and all these
Yeah.
fears of mortality and all of the things that I think are very vivid during the pandemic, but also the play looks at art as a lens in which to view the world.
Yeah.
And I've seen in other places you've described it as a love story, a meeting of two minds or a meeting of two worlds.
Yeah.
So um, how do you feel writing about yourself or how you are viewed from by your partner, like split screen? How was that in the process?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's one of those things that I somehow had said to myself I shouldn't do. But then the truth is, I'm the person I know best, and all of the secrets, I know them well if they're mine. So it felt like, when I first wrote, there's a couple of lines that come up again and again. My wife would like you to know. My
Mm,
wife would like to tell you. And when I allowed myself to not delete those sentences, but just let them live and hang out in the story, it started to become more than one person's story. It started to
mm,
become more than a science story. It was about science and art kind of battling for the future, about truth, being kind of the tug of war of art and science on one side and truth in the middle. And of course, in the end, science and art have their own truths, share a lot of them, and amplify each other's. But But in that way, it felt like it could be, as you noticed, that kind of duality at play.
Mm,
There's this, there's the kind of the world around our main character has space for both of these things. And when I allowed the character of the playwright, um, which I'm not in the play, but I'm nearby. The
yeah, no.
character knows the playwright is there, watching, observing, and then of course manipulating the play as it's happening. There's a moment, when the play starts to change, for you, the audience, but also for the character in the play. And when I allowed myself to just say, you know what, I don't know what all that means, but I'm just going to keep writing this and let it world build. It felt exciting, and it felt like it was a conversation instigator, which I like art that does that maybe,
Mm,
that asks, like, what do you think that means, and invites you into the idea of the play, which I think that's my favorite kind of theater, that
wow.
says, come on in, this idea
Yeah.
is happening with you.
Uh, Absolutely. I was like a theatrical outfit. Our mission is to start the conversations that matter. And I just remember the first time I saw that, I was like, yes. Yeah, and I think that
Yeah.
this play does that. It's like, so there's one more question. There's a way you could view the play is that as somebody with a really, really, really brilliant mind, whose science cannot answer the fundamental questions about his life, or who
Yeah.
cannot ban the fundamental fears. So there's an extraordinary amount of vulnerability in the play.
Yeah.
For your husband, it's like he's real personal.
Yeah.
Was that a challenge, or was that to put that on stage, or
Yeah. It feels, remember, we're writing this in the pandemic, when
yeah,
at the beginning, certainly, when the bravest people that I could imagine were the ones who were telling the truth, who were
mm,
saying, here's what's actually going on. Here's how it's actually affecting me and my family. And this is essential workers and brave delivery folks and grocery workers, but also like Dr. Fauci and scientists at the helm trying to say, here's what's actually going on. And so for me, it felt like the minimum I could do to add anything to this moment is to also tell the truth, and to also be kind of bravely personal and open about something that it's easy to kind of edit out the hard parts. And this is not a time for that. I don't think theater's ever a time to edit out the hard parts, because that's how we learn from it, right? That's how we grow and
yeah,
find resilience and meaning. But certainly now. So in some ways, the honesty of it felt both a combination of the intimacy we were all forced into by not being able to leave our house and the people in it, but also it's a time for truth. It's a time for science. It's a time for empathy and understanding that theater is so good at imbuing into art. And that felt like the right place for a personal story. And frankly, I know that Nathan's true story, of course, it is a fictionalized version of
mm,
him, but a lot of the things that happen in it are true. Um, that it's a play that should really ask, what's your truth. I think when you share a true thing, I think that asks other people to do the same, and that's good news, for getting to know each other, for respecting each other, for seeing that we're not alone in any struggle we might be having, or sorrow or pain. And that certainly is kind of what I needed from this moment, is a piece of work that would ask me, what are those things I might be hiding from myself? Or what are those things that I wish I could solve and I can't? What are those losses, those loves that I would do anything for? And knowing that there's a lot of other people who feel the same way about people in their lives.
mm. Yeah. I really appreciate the honesty of it. I feel it's like it's not, it's like that theater mirror. It's not like an actual mirror of your real life. It's the lens through
Yeah,
which
right.
it's like a magic mirror. You can see more deeply into yourself by looking into someone else. Um,
Yes. It was
my
still very weird for my husband. No doubt. I'm making it sound all just literary and arty, but the truth is it was wild, but I think it was also a gift to him. I mean, it wasn't supposed to be that exactly, but by that I meant we were able to have conversations that we'd never had before. And there were things he learned about himself and me from a play that I read. So I encourage all couples to write plays about each other.
Yes, I'll tell my wife. Get the pen and paper out. Let's go. All this is wonderful. So my final question is the vaccines are on the way. We're looking to the future. What are your hopes and dreams for theater post-pandemic?
Yeah. Um, you know, I'm an optimist through and through, insufferably optimistic. um, so I think we can take what we have learned and what has worked from this moment and combine it with the theater we miss so much in the way we were used to seeing it. So I cannot wait. I'm going to be a bawling, weepy mess the first play I get to see in person. I'm sure a lot of people will be. Can't imagine that first standing ovation. Every play gets a standing ovation from me from now on, forever. I don't care. But I think what hopefully this play actually is an example of is streamed, digital, filmed theater can work. It can be a thing. It can straddle that line of what we know and we love about live theater, but also this kind of new tools and delight of film. And what is this hybrid thing that we can create? And I think streamed digital stuff is not like the live experience, but maybe it doesn't have to be. It can be its own thing. It can be another way, a whole new avenue for people all over the world to experience theater. I would love for people to be able to see theatrical outfit shows all over the world, download them, and maybe not every play is filmed, but some of them are, and think of how we can bring theater into people's lives and kind of meet them where they are, instead of saying you have to be at the theater at this time, at this place, and dressed like this and paying this. And what is a way that we can democratize and essentialize and make it so accessible so that everybody sees plays in some form or another? I think that's my biggest dream. So yeah.
That's one. Well, I know this is a play that like my family in Ireland are going to be able to see. They don't have to fly to Atlanta. Yeah. I mean, I just think things that allow us to cross the ocean in a meaningful way. Obviously, very personal to me as an immigrant.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think there's so many people who've been out of work, and I feel for them intensely. All of the folks that make plays happen, and that's not just the actors and directors, but all of the people who work within theaters and venues to bring us together. And I can't wait for them to get those jobs back and to start dreaming and doing again. And at the same time, I'm really excited about what has been accomplished during this time in some way or another. Artists are innovative, unstoppable forces of creativity. So give us a challenge and we'll come up with 10 ways to get around it. So I feel like we have proven ourselves during this time that you kind of can't stop storytelling, you can't stop theater. But I long so hard to be together again, making theater in all the ways. So I can't wait for that moment.
Neither can I. Lauren, thank you so much for this chat. I'm so excited for all of the audience in Atlanta to see this play. To kind of celebrate you as one of our own.
I love that so much, and I miss Atlanta terribly for all the reasons, including the culinary ones. So we'll be back in person soon, and see you at Mary Mac's.
Okay. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye. Thanks so much, y'all.